Have you ever heard of a place that calls to people? A place where the air feels heavier, the silence feels unnatural, and something unseen watches? My uncle once visited such a place, a bridge hidden deep in the mountains, infamous for one thing. Every year, people jump to their deaths, and no one could explain why. Some say the place is cursed. Others believe something waits there. It all started when his friend, Ronnie, found an article online. The article talked about the bridge's dark past, with eerie photos of the empty road, the mist-covered gorge below, and the warning, "Don't go alone." But my uncle didn't believe in ghost stories. So that very night, just before midnight, he drove to the bridge. The road twisted through the mountains, the trees closing in on both sides. No cars. No houses. Just the glow of his headlights cutting through the darkness. Finally, he reached it. The bridge stretched out before him, silent. Waiting. The cold wind howled through the steel cables, and the deep gorge below was nothing but a black void. He stepped forward. No turning back now. At first, he felt nothing. Just an old bridge. No ghosts. No strange figures. People just make up stories, he muttered, walking toward the center. He leaned over the edge and stared into the abyss below. The thought crossed his mind, how many had stood right here, just before they jumped? A chill ran down his spine. Suddenly, he had the strangest feeling. Like someone was bay. Slowly, he turned. Nothing. Just shadows and empty space. Shaking his head, he pulled out his phone. No signal. Of course. He needed to tell Ronnie about this. And then, he saw it. A payphone. An old booth, just a few feet away from the bridge. The glass was dusty, the metal rusted, but it looked functional. Strange. He hadn't seen it when he arrived. Curious, he stepped inside, dropped a few coins, and dialed Ronnie. "Hey, guess where I am?" He laughed. "At the bridge you told me about. You should come. It's quiet here." Ronnie's voice on the other end was confused. "Wait. Where are you calling from?" My uncle frowned. "A payphone. There's one right here. My phone has no signal." Silence. Then Ronnie's voice came back, sharper. "Urgent. Listen to me. There is no payphone there." My uncle's stomach dropped. "What are you talking about? I'm standing in it." Ronnie's voice was firm. "I've seen that place on Google. There is no phone booth. Get back inside it. Do not hang up. Do not move." A cold dread crept over him. His breathing became shallow. Then, he noticed something. Through the glass, just beyond the phone booth. A group of people. They stood there in the darkness. Silent. Motionless. Staring right at him. Their faces were blurred, features twisted, like they weren't really there. The longer he looked, the more he realized, something was wrong with them. His fingers tightened around the receiver. "Ronnie. There are people outside." Ronnie's voice was shaking now. "Listen to me. Do not leave the phone booth. Do not talk to them. I'm on my way. Just stay." The figures didn't move. They just watched. Minutes crawled by. The air inside the booth felt thick, suffocating. Then, headlights. A car skidded to a stop. Ronnie. He jumped out, eyes darting around, searching for the phone booth. But there was nothing there. Instead, he found my uncle. Standing at the very edge of the bridge. Frozen. His phone was in his hand, pressed to his ear. But the call had disconnected long ago. If Ronnie hadn't come, if he had taken just one step forward, he would have fallen. My uncle doesn't remember leaving the booth. He doesn't remember walking to the edge. But something led him there. Something that wanted him to jump. And the people? The ones who watched him from outside the booth? They were never there. The next day, my uncle searched online. There was no record of a payphone ever existing at that bridge. No old photos, no historical mentions. It never existed. But that night, it had been there. And it had been waiting for him. To this day, he refuses to talk about it. And he has never, ever, gone back. Would you? For more content like subscribe our channel.